Okay, let's talk about the Apple Podcast app. The Podcast app is available on all Apple products. That would be iPhone, iPad, and the Mac computer. And because it's created by Apple, you can easily get support either out there on the internet or maybe even better yet in person at an Apple store. Fortunately, we happen to have one in town at the Forum Shopping Center in the southeast part of Carlsbad. I've opened the app to the first page, if you will. Look along the bottom edge. We have 4 tabs. First one, which is displayed and illuminated, is called Home, followed by Browse, Library, and Searching. Okay, so let's start with the home screen. I don't spend much time here, but I just want to briefly tell you what this is about. If you start scrolling, it's just kind of talking about all kinds of stuff that's out there in the podcast world. At the very bottom, it'll say, well, this is what you've been listening to recently. I really don't find this helpful. In the upper right corner, there's a little icon with a person's silhouette in there. That's your information about your account. I really ignore that, and frankly, I ignore the second icon on the bottom of the screen, which is called Browse. Let's tap that. Again, this is a way for you to look for new things to listen to. Comedy shows, society and culture, global hits. Let's go to the third icon at the bottom. This, I think, is valuable. This is, in fact, the most valuable screen. This is the library, and this is the first screen in the library. And you see things in front of you called shows, channels, categories, saved, downloaded, and latest episodes. Let's tap on shows, and these are the podcasts that I am following. The other term you might consider is subscribed. Some podcast apps use the word subscribed, and these are the 4 that I'm currently following. I could tap on any of them and get more information about them, but let's go back a step and look what else other choices we have. Let's ignore channels for the moment. Categories, let me tap categories. That will take the 4 shows, or maybe 40 shows you have, and place them in categories. Okay? Don't find this particularly helpful, but you might. Saved, downloaded, and latest episodes. We're going to talk about downloading an episode. So if I tap here, these are the 2 episodes that are downloaded to this device. And by that I mean it's stored on the device, so I don't need internet access of any kind. Not Wi-Fi, not cellular data, no access of any kind. I'm completely independent of the internet when I'm listening to a downloaded podcast. I'm not really going to go over the other categories. You're welcome to explore those at your leisure. What I want to do now is let's go ahead and go back to shows, and then I'll tap a particular show. Let's tap this Ask Leo show. This is a tech broadcast. It's a help tech broadcast. So it takes up certain topics like hacking and how to avoid getting hacked. How can I tell if a website is safe? Why must I re-enter my email to unsubscribe? These, you might notice, you see the time here, 10 minutes, 3 minutes and 52 seconds. These are pretty brief. Now that's one thing that I like about the Ask Leo podcasts, is that they're kind of quick hitting. Okay, it's not 30 minutes or an hour. There are other tech podcasts that are much longer, and I enjoy those as well. But this is kind of a nice thing. These topics are the kinds of things I hear people asking about all the time, and often I'm curious about them as well. Okay, so one thing, let's say we want to start listening to this one called How Can I Tell If a Website is Safe? Well, I can tap on it, and I'll get it full screen. Let's hit play.
How can I tell if a website is safe?
If I tap this at the bottom,
Hi everyone, Leo Notenboom here for AskLeo.com. Here's an example.
let me pause this. So now I've got full screen. It's only about this Ask Leo episode. You see like a ticker tape here running, explaining the full length of the title. We have a play button. we have immediately to the left a circle with the number 15 in it. That means back up 15 seconds. And on the right of the play button is go ahead 30 seconds, advance 30 seconds. On the far left, we have something called 1x. Let's tap that. This allows you to adjust the playback speed. Are you comfortable listening to this at the normal speed that the podcast runs in, or do you want to speed them up by 25% or 50 or even more? Or if you'd like, you can slow down the playback of the podcast. If somebody's speaking very quickly, especially on a complicated topic, you may want to slow them down. I'm going to leave it at 1. On the far right of this line is an icon. It's very small, but it's a moon with Z's coming out of it. And that kind of says sleep timer to me. So sure enough, I tap on it, and it says that when this episode ends, in other words, when do you want the episode to shut off? And this is kind of handy if you use episodes for helping you to get to sleep, and later you want to come back and pick up where you left off. If you tell yourself, okay, I'm going to have it turn off in 1 hour, then this little thing, it's hard to see, but it's now illuminated to let us know that it's active. If this ran, say, an hour and a half, this doesn't, but if it ran an hour and a half, at the end of 1 hour, it would stop. And in the morning, you can get up and say, well, I know it stopped at an hour into it, so maybe I should back up halfway and see where was he at 30 minutes. That's kind of a very handy thing. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to turn this timer off because I don't want the timer engaged. At the very bottom, you have a slider for volume. This is how loud it sounds on your device. In the bottom left corner, a quick button which is the transcript. In other words, information about all of this stuff written out. I'm going to tap that to turn it off. Now we've got Ask Leo, the running title, and the playback. Okay, that's by far the most important part about podcasting, is knowing how to play them back. If we want to download this episode so that it'll be on our device, regardless of our internet status, we should tap these 3 dots right here. And you'll notice that the very top choice is download episode. Let's do that. There's another way to control downloading of podcasts, and that is to ask the podcast app to do it on a regular basis automatically anytime you're connected to the internet. So let's touch the 3 dots in the upper right corner, and we're going to come down to settings. Now in settings, you have some choices here. The one we're interested in discussing right now is downloads. Now if I tap on this, I see that I have some choices. So download and keep the default setting, which is the latest 3 episodes, but you have many other choices here. Okay, so you can choose what you like. Obviously you can turn this off if you like, but I really count on this to keep the downloads coming such that when I open the app later, I've got the episodes I want to have on the device. Let me swipe down and then go back a step. In fact, let's go to search. So now the search icon in the bottom right is illuminated. I find most helpful if somebody gives you a suggestion of a podcast you might want to listen to, then why don't you just search for it directly? And that's what this top field is up here. So I'm going to tap in here. When you're starting to search, the question is, do you want to search in all the available podcasts, or do you want to search in your library? So you really want to be over here on Apple Podcasts. And now when you do some searching, you're going to be searching the population of available podcasts to listen to. I'm going to hit the microphone here. Actually, I'm not using Siri. I'm just using the built-in recording function. And I just got to stop talking after I do that. Hidden Brain. And sure enough, it's finding the Hidden Brain podcast. Very good, Hidden Brain. Okay, so you could come down here and you could say, well, the result is the Hidden Brain show. Here are other things that are related to that kind of topic. Let's go back to top results. Let's tap on the Hidden Brain show. And you could start listening to the latest episode, get a feel for whether you like it or not. Down here, by the way, they're saying that if you want a fancier version, and that usually means they will strip out the ads, you can pay some money. It's not cheap though, $5 a month in order to have the ads removed from this podcast. So I'm not going to take them up on that offer. What I'd like to do is follow this show. In other words, I want to listen to this on a regular basis. And at the top you see plus and the word follow. Let's tap that. And now it's replaced by a check mark. So that's pretty handy. That's kind of the best way to find a topic. For example, someone may have given you a list of good podcasts to start listening to. Well, you can go down that list and populate it that way. Let me back up a step. And I'll cancel out of here. And now I'm still in the search mode. I tend to go back to my library, and these are episodes that are coming up. You'll notice this is all in the Ask Leo world, so I back up, and here's one called Science Versus. Here's Hidden Brain. We just added it to our roster of shows that we are following. So now I'll tap on Hidden Brain, and it says here are this episode was listed 2 days ago. This one was listed available on the 14th of this month, July. And you can wait till you find one that you like. Okay, and just tap it and it'll start playing. That's a brief overview of the Apple Podcast app. I hope that's encouraging you to give this a try. There are many other apps out there, but if you find that you like this one well enough, then the beauty is you can get help from Apple at any time and lots of other people as well on this app. Thanks for watching.